Welcome to another episode of Throwing Tantrums. This is Behind the Tantrums, giving you guys updates behind the scenes of what's going on with the company. Last week, I didn't really get a chance to do any sort of updates because it was a short work week. Retreat was last weekend, and it was from Thursday to Sunday, so I wanted to make sure that I got a good jump start on all the work before going into retreat mode and all that. This past weekend was retreat. One of the reasons we do retreat is primarily team bonding, chemistry, all that stuff. But normally we do it at the beginning of the year. We usually have auditions in February and we have the retreat in March or April because it's a new team. The main thing I want to do is build chemistry and comfort because I believe that level of connection that goes beyond words and just showing up to the room, I think that also translates on stage. The biggest difference this year versus last year is that we actually did the retreat in September, which is way later into the year, which made it interesting in my opinion because it gave a lot more time for the team to marinate through the commonalities of dance. So yeah, with that in mind, it kind of shifted how we wanted to approach everything, which leads me to some of the other changes with the retreat. Normally we do retreats from Friday to Sunday. This year we decided to go from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days. So day zero would be on Thursday. Friday would be a nice day to decompress and kind of like disconnect from the responsibilities of work, to get us more present with each other, with the environment, kind of just connect with nature because we're up in the mountains. We're at Idlewild. And then Saturday is all the retreat games, all the activities. And Sunday we check out, we have lunch, spend some time with each other, and head back. Monday, obviously, we're back in the real world. Because what the reason we wanted to do that is because Friday, like when we come in Friday, we're kind of just trying to rush to get there. We kind of are still in work mode. At least just my observation, my experience, and from what I've heard from other people, it's very much like they're there. They're still checking their phones. They're still on their laptops, wanting to work. Their mind is still where they left behind. I felt like adding that extra day give us an opportunity to just really let go. It's not just one of the things I've just learned, at least for myself, is that it's just not instant in terms of like, okay, work is done, I'm leaving it. It's more like I need a moment to decompress before I get into the next thing. And I feel like that was the same for everyone. Just collectively, we needed some time to decompress so we can get ready for the games. So, and honestly, yeah, it was pretty. I think it was a great idea. It was kind of nice to just hang out, spend time with everyone, play video games, nap, just kind of just lounge. But also, it was kind of a little stressful for me because I like having an itinerary. I like being able to work and do the thing. So as you can see, that day was kind of appropriate, especially for me because I like working. And when I have nothing on my schedule, like of an itinerary, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But throughout the day, I relaxed. I was able to just hang out with everyone. Session, man, there's a lot of sessioning. One other thing that was also big in the change was how hot it was. Usually we're there again, like I said, around springtime, and it's a little cooler. So we never really noticed how hot it got because it was not the area was just naturally cold. But this week, at the time of filming this, was a huge heat wave. It was like 115 last Thursday when we left. When we got there, it was 90. But the cabins we were at had like not like they had okay AC, but we had a lot of fans on throughout the whole time. Unfortunately, we had to deal with that. We had zero AC, and we had to cope with that. But I think we managed to make do. I guess just for the sake of sharing with you guys of what does a temper tantrum retreat generally look like. How we structured it this year, again, like I said, was different. Thursday was day zero. Essentially, everyone just came in, hang out. The purpose, and we reiterate with this a lot, months beforehand, weeks beforehand, that retreat is not the type of retreat where you go out and get fucked up or get hammered or do all this other stuff. Otherwise, it's just, I don't know, hanging out with friends in the mountains. Because I am aware that there are some other dance companies that have done that. We are not that. And those, and I don't know about you guys listening to this, I've had my experience of going to church retreats, and those are always kind of cathartic and kind of meaningful. And I've also been in other dance teams retreats were is similar to that, where it was purposeful, intentional, meant for a lot of personal development. And but I'm also aware that there are other dance teams where it's a little bit more loose. We were very strict on you're not there to get hammered, you're not there to get all kinds of plastered, but we did allow casual drinking. Everyone in the team is over 21. This is an adult team. Mandatory age is 21 and up. We're not trying to, like, no offense to any of the kids fresh out of high school, but the difference between 18 and 21, 21 and 25, 25 and 30, very, 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 very different mindsets. Thursday, again, was day 0. Everyone just came in, hung out, we sessioned. I think during that day, some of the guys decided to do the period cramp challenge, which was very interesting. My abs were definitely sore. And shouts out to the fellas that decided to try that. That is probably going to be a Patreon exclusive, because of the sheer silliness. And I'm not sure if it's going to get blocked if we upload it. But yeah, I think it's a pretty fun. It was a pretty funny challenge that the guys did. Friday, again, very loose, zero structure. I think that one of my favorite things was people were asking, like, "Oh, what time should we come back? What are we doing today?" I was like, "No, just enjoy being here. Take your mind off work, just hang out, that kind of stuff." I saw a lot of people go to town, play video games, nap. It was nice because by taking us away from like the busy chaos of our daily lives, just slow down, enjoy the moment, enjoy being here, enjoy being in nature. I think that was definitely my favorite part. I also managed to find a nice local gym to work out at. We managed to do a pretty nice late night session with some of the members. From working out to doing a session over there in the yoga room. But while we were there, some of the members back in the cabin were also doing some karaoke challenge. So again, it was wholesome fun. Saturday was definitely the activities day. I'll just say everything. Yeah. So first off, I'm just gonna let you guys know, like, everything in terms of what the retreat was structured. I've never really told anyone how the retreats are structured before. The only people that really knew were anyone who's ever been with me on any sort of board leadership position on any of the teams I've directed. I forgot to mention this in the beginning. One of the other things that we changed really a lot this year is the structure of the games. We've structured it around like the who, what, where, when, why, how kind of deal to make everything kind of feel cohesive. Let me actually bring up the documents. Okay, so the first section of the day. So after breakfast, all that stuff on Saturday. I generally like to have my retreats start lighthearted. So and again, this is something new in terms of the who, what, why part. So the first thing we started off with was who are we? The intention. Just gonna read off my notes here. Is like to shed your daily persona and embrace your authentic self. Be open to showcasing hidden talents or quirks. Approach the interactions with playfulness and curiosity. And you look for the unique spark in others, and essentially just let the laughter and break down the barriers. So the games we really did for that is something called Pop Group, a great game that Brandon introduced to us like a few years ago. But essentially, you are given random groups, or you're assigned to a random group, and you are assigned to an iconic pop song that you have to choreograph and perform to the rest of the team. So it aligns the who question by encouraging the people to express themselves creatively. So after that, we went into Dancer Trivia and Love Letter to Self. So those are two games that we combined into one, because those games because this was kind of more like a setup game to get the gears going on the type of activities we're gonna have. But these games were gonna be used later. So Dancer Trivia was essentially dancers write 2 or 3 random facts, put it in a paper bag, boom, done. Love Letter to Self, pretty straightforward. Where you're writing a love letter to yourself, and ideally it's something good, and you're not like being a silly dork about it. The next section was building connections, which is what brings us together. Okay, so that part, just reading off my notes here, the intention of that was to tune into the nonverbal cues and body language, seek out the commonalities and experiences, be present in the moment, be fully engaged with others, allow yourself to be vulnerable, recognize the invisible connections that bring us all together. That leads me to the third game, or third activity, which is Etheric Body, which was created by one of our alumni members, Sean, a while back. We still do it to this day because I think it's one of the most powerful nonverbal movement exercises we've ever done. That deepens the connections through movement, through nonverbal communication, through connection. The game is done through different rounds. So the first round is done through one versus the group. The second round then goes into either we do smaller groups, which was something we did last year, or what we did this year is we did an assembly line. So different people had different partners for every round, and the final round was pairing them up with their partners, which we decided before the retreat. And for every round, there was a certain prompt that they had to dance to, and the people who were just there observing, they were there to hold the space and receive what the person was saying to stay connected, and not to interrupt them. Let the person who is dancing at the moment really connect with what the prompt is to them. The next one was a version of We're Not Really Strangers. So if you guys know the game, it's pretty straightforward, but the way we just did this, it became more of a group discussion going from level 1, level 2, level 3. It's essentially, again, going a little deeper on some of the topics we share, allowing people to essentially share a little bit more about themselves. So after that, lunch and whatnot, hang out, go be with their partners, explore the town. Then after lunch, we went into the next phase, which introduced conflict, which is where are our challenges. So the first thing we did was Red Black, aka Prisoner's Dilemma. If you guys know the game Red Black or Prisoner's Dilemma, then you already know how the game goes. I'm not going to try to give it too much because it's one of those games that, in my opinion, if you know how to play it already, then you can never play it again because you know how the game works. You know how to quote unquote win. But it's definitely one of those games that introduces conflict because it challenges people to dialogue and work together, and as also notice how they show up in a simple game when there's a little bit of conflict introduced. You notice how people shut down, how competitive people get, how where egos show up. I think it's one of those things that show like where our challenges are when it comes to cooperating and working together. It's definitely a great game in my opinion. It's almost like, in my opinion, in terms of like challenging the integrity of the team. How team based are they, or are they just saying that they play team when they're actually out to try to get everything for themselves? The game after that is called Between Two Lines. Pretty straightforward. It's get your group from one side of the room to the other room, going between two lines. And if you touch the line, you start all over. This one is a little bit more physical because you're actually having to go carry people from one room to the other, but it also makes people. You also have to communicate. So again, throwing another challenge in how well they communicate, how well they listen. Do they shut down? Do they step up? Do they figure out the role? Are people just yelling over each other? So again, another example of working together as a team. And I think one of the things that I really enjoy about it is eventually people find their rhythm, they find a system. And no matter how many times people have done this, because I know a lot of the members have done it a handful of times already, though the challenge is the same, the approach has always been different. And sometimes it's frustrating, but once you get through it, it's a sigh of relief because you got through another one. And it's crazy because though the strategy that may have worked last year probably wouldn't have worked this year because the people are different. You're different. So going into the next section, where we're diving deeper, is why are we here? So the intention of that is to reflect on one's personal journey, connect it with your past experiences to your present purpose, share your passions and what it truly means to you, and to be a space for other people and listen to other stories as well. So I combined two games for this one. So the first one is Why Do I? And the game I combined that with it's a child parent photo. It's kind of like a timeline kind of thing. So Why Do I is essentially a simple prompt exercise with the person's partner that you've been assigned with, and you are given a prompt of why do I neglect self-care? Why do I doubt my capabilities? And it goes from lighthearted to something going a little deeper. Again, it's to allow us to reflect and share and be honest to your comfort, because like if you don't want to share too much, and we're not forcing anyone to do that, but they go as deep as they want to go, and the other partner is just there to be a space to listen, to take that person in. And I think this is honestly a really good exercise for people to know how to listen without having to problem solve, which is something I have a hard time with sometimes because I like solving problems. But it's a great exercise to just be a great listener and to have the person feel heard and feel seen. The exercise that I combined that with, because I wanted a dialogue and connection between the partners, is I'm going to call it the timeline exercise, because it goes through, because of what I had the members do is bring up photos from them a year ago, 5 years ago, when they were a kid, and a person that they looked up to. So essentially, your partner is going to be would be holding a photo of you that you picked, again from either a year ago, 5 years ago, baby photo, or an adult you looked up to, and the person who's holding that is just holding it. You're holding this, you're holding it, you're holding the space for them, you're listening. You're essentially a mirror for that person, and the person, the other person, is essentially looking at that photo of themselves. And how the exercise works is that the first minute is you're reflecting of where you were compared to that photo. So if it's a year ago, you reflect on how much has changed in a year. 5 years ago, you reflect on how much has changed 5 years. Same thing, so on and so forth. And you connect with that in terms of your timeline of like how where you are in your journey, where you were then, and then after that minute, you spend 2 minutes talking to that person. I think someone in the company brought up a really powerful point in how us talking to our past selves were the voices of encouragement. So like those voices, like say like from a year ago, and where you were saying like you can do this, keep going, that's like the voice of you, like from the future, and that's us kind of being that for them now. If that's making sense. But I thought that was a very cool interpretation of what that is, and how that, of what that meant to that for that person. But yeah, essentially, like, what would you say to your past self? That kind of exercise, but like magnified. And then the last two is like the adult that who made an impact on you. So that can be a mom, dad, a teacher, if you or an uncle, like a mentor. You see that person, you think about the person, like for a minute, you think about the the impact that they had on you, and then from there you share with what you want to say to them, whether you've said it already, whether you want to say it, or have never had the chance to say it, but you just say it. And again, the partner is holding the photo for you, does not say anything. They're just holding the photo, they're holding the space, they are just simply a mirror for you at that moment. And then from there, after the adult you looked up to, we bring out the love letters to themselves, which they wrote earlier. So, and then now your partner is reading it out loud to you. The plan with that was you reflect on your journey, and then you become like your voice of now becomes the reassurance and the strength, for you to keep going. I don't know what people wrote in their love letters, but from the looks of it, it was pretty encouraging and it was touching. From there, we moved into the fifth section, which is how do we support each other. The intent for that is how do we support each other in the journeys, whether not just in dance, because I really took this in a very big sense outside of dance, but through dance, through our own personal stories, through our own journeys. How do we support ourselves? How do we support others, beyond this retreat? And how do we acknowledge that? How do we see each other? How do we acknowledge each other? Because for me, I didn't say this in the beginning, but one of the reasons I also love doing retreat is because dance brought us together. Which is the commonality, but who are we beyond that? And I have a belief of like you don't know a person until you've seen their worst. And I know you can't force chemistry, you can't force like these types of things, these real life situations in a weekend. But my hope and goal is really to at least shed a little bit of the layers so we can feel a little bit more connected and we can see the humanity with each other. So one, we don't feel alone, but two, we have a deeper connection in this journey. And you might have someone else, you might have just made a deeper connection with you who can support you in your own journey. So so going into the game we did with that is reach out and touch. We separate the groups. The way I did it was like there's a group in the outside and a group in the middle. It varies. You can do a group of 4 or 5 in the middle, but the outside group, the group in the middle has their eyes closed. The outside group has their eyes open, and there's the way it goes is essentially they follow prompts such as reach out and touch someone who you think is funny, reach out and touch someone who has made an impact on your life. And from there, the outside group goes and touches the inside group, like acknowledging them, like, oh, you're funny, like you made an impact on my life. And it's different when people are saying it to your face and with your eyes open, and another thing where it's your eyes are closed and you hear this prompt and you're just thinking like, oh, that's not me, I'm not funny. But then you feel this wave of just people touching you, making human contact, acknowledging you, and you don't know who it is. You might get to a point where you know if it's your friend, just like kind of like doing this thing and they kind of just trolling you. But it's different when when you hear it versus getting the human contact. It's simple, but it's a very powerful exercise. The way I kind of structured that was kind of random. I brought in 4 people at a time first, but then I realized something. Oh, let's bring in all the newbies first. Let the veterans acknowledge the newbies. Switch. Bring all the veterans in. Let all the newbies acknowledge the veterans. Boom, and then from there, bring all the board members and let the team acknowledge them. It's kind of a cool moment. Just I don't know, just very, I'd say, magical and touching and inspiring. Yeah, and after that, we finished on a lighter note over dinner. We played. That's where we did dancer trivia. Essentially, again, we guessed the random facts of the person. Lighthearted, nothing too crazy, but it was definitely a roller coaster of a day. I just figured it would be nice to end on a lighter note, and also getting to learn some fun new facts about each other. So that's essentially it. Like the Saturday was packed and intense. We started later. Usually we start from 8 a.m. and finish by 5 or 6, but we started later because everyone was sessioning on Friday night. So we started at 10 a.m. and finished it by midnight. Even after that, people still danced and sessioned. People danced until like 3 or 4 a.m. And then just kind of tradition. We were after retreat, we just dance our feelings out even more. Sunday, check out, that's it. So what's happening now? Moving forward, we are going back into the mode of getting ready for filming. This upcoming weekend, we're rehearsing for Love and Motion, and the weekend after that, is film day. It's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be from 9:30 to 5. I'm still in the process of putting the previous together. I want to get that done this week. But following weekend on the 29th, we're also going to be filming some tutorials for our YouTube and our Udemy course. But yeah, that's it. I'm just going to cut it there because there's October, November, and I've already made this much longer than anticipated. Okay, so lesson of the week or the past 2 weeks. Man, I feel like there's a lot of lessons. I think the main one that I said throughout the retreat is pay attention to how you show up on situations. I shared that during one of the activities, and it was definitely a mindfuck for other people, but it was definitely something worth reminding people when it came to some of the activities. I'm a believer of who you are in the process is much more important than what you achieve. When it comes to success and getting stuff, it's all about the actions. You can be an asshole, but as long as you do the thing, you will get success. But you can also be a good person and do the actions, and you will still get success. It's a matter of who do you want to be once you hit the mountaintop. And it comes back down to identity. Because if your thing is just success and money, you will do things that are just related to that. But say the vision is, I want to be a good person in the process of me achieving my dreams, then that'll kind of dictate those actions as well. Going back to it, be mindful of how you show up in your interactions with your friends, your family, when you're triggered, when you're relaxed, when you're on baseline, when you're at work, when you're dealing with silly things, when you're dealing with important things. I think there's a lot you can learn about yourself just by paying attention to how you show up to certain situations. Are you engaged? Are you shut down? Or are you triggered? Once you notice it, you give yourself the power to be able to choose something different or to keep enforcing who you want to become. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.